This is our story, Caps for Sale. Once there was a peddler who sold caps, but he was not like an ordinary peddler carrying his wares on his back. He carried them on top of his head. First, he had his own checkered hat. Then a bunch of gray caps, then a bunch of brown caps, then a bunch of blue caps, and on the very top, a bunch of red caps. He walked up and down the streets holding himself very straight so as to not upset his caps. As he went along, he called, "Caps for sale! Caps! Caps for sale! 50 cents a cap!" One morning, he couldn't sell any caps. He walked up the street. He walked down the street. He kept calling, "Caps! Caps for sale! 50 cents a cap!" But nobody wanted any caps that morning. Nobody even wanted the red cap. He began to feel very hungry, but he had no money for lunch. "I think I'll go for a walk in the country," he said, and he walked out of the town slowly, so as not to upset his caps. Well, he walked for a long time until he came to a great big tree. "That's a nice place for a rest," he thought. Then he sat down very slowly under the tree, and he leaned back, and little by little, against the tree trunk, so as not to disturb the caps on his head. Then he put up his hand to feel if they were straight. First, he felt his own checkered hat, then he felt the gray caps, then he felt the brown caps, then he felt the blue caps, then the red caps on the very, very top. They were all there. So he went to sleep, and he slept for a long time. When he woke up, he was refreshed and rested. What's missing? But before standing up, he felt with his hand to make sure his caps were in the right place. And all he felt was his checkered cap. He looked to the right of him. He looked to the left of him. He looked in back of him. He looked behind the tree. No caps. Then he looked up into the tree, and what do you think he saw? On every branch was a monkey. And on every monkey was a gray or a brown or a blue or a red cap. The peddler looked at the monkeys. The monkeys looked at the peddler. He didn't know what to do. Finally, he spoke to them. "You monkeys, you," he's shaking his finger at them, "you give me back my caps." But the monkeys only shook their fingers back at him and said, "Tis, tis, tis." Well, this made the peddler angry, so he shook both his hands at them and said, "You monkeys, you give me back my cap." Well, the monkeys only shook both their hands back at him and said, "Tis, tis, tis, tis." Now he felt quite angry, and so he stamped his foot. "You monkeys, you better give me back my caps." But the monkeys only stamped their foot back at him and said, "Tis, tis, tis." By this time, the peddler was really, really angry, and he stamped both his feet and shouted, "You monkeys, you must give me back my caps." But the monkeys only stamped both their feet and said, "Tss, tss, tss." At last, he became so angry that he pulled off his very own cap, like this, and he threw it to the ground and began to walk away. But then each monkey did this. They pulled off their cap, and all the gray caps, and all the brown caps, and all the blue caps, and all the red caps came flying down out of the tree. So the peddler picked up his cap and put it back on his head. First his own checkered cap, then the gray caps, then the brown caps, then the blue caps, then the red caps on the very top. And slowly, slowly, he walked back to town calling, "Caps, caps for sale, 50 cents a cap." The end.